Welcome to the bold analysis, ladies and gentlemen. Kenya Kwanza has made a suspicious amendment and tweaking the Affordable Housing Levy Act, rather the Housing Levy Act, to build markets, hospitals and roads. And this has sparked a big fallout with reports of David Ndii-led Economic Council, with Moses Kuria clashing with Mbadi axis on this move. A move that even Kenyan workers are saying is going to open a loophole for the levy to be looted by the political forces. In this podcast, we are going to look at what happened at NSSF and why the NSSF model that is being brought in the housing levy is outrightly a conduit of looting the housing levy fund. Welcome to the bold and kindly subscribe. We are finishing the Shinyalu project today. And Shinyalu project today, the deficit we have is around 44,000, is around 40,000. And today, two things are what is remaining. We've been here since a Saturday evening to ensure that this shosh here, Granny Deborah, who alichomeka, alikuwa na epilepsy, so one day she fell akachomeka, and even 6 months down the line, she had not gotten a very proper medication, that she gets medication. This was her situation.
Hey. Hapata ni uchungu.
Naumia. Toi mkono hii kwanza. Toi mkono kwanza.
Inauma na ndani, ama inauma na ndani. Hii mkono before ulikuwa unabeba tu mzuri.
Alikuwa anakaa kama chomeka.
Alikuwa tu sawa, lakini sasa hivi huwezi.
This is her situation. So we came here, we took her to the hospital. So today, what is remaining, the plastic surgery is supposed to be done, and the other tests that are also going to be done so that she can also be put in epilepsy medication. That is what we are going to follow up on today and make sure we pay full share for her. And then the house construction is also underway. I think what's only remaining on the side of the house is actually the windows and the doors that are going to be put tomorrow as we leave. So that is why we have that deficit to finish up this project. And I really want to say thank you, because when we came here, this family is in big problem. Shosho alichomeka, and she was in that situation. She didn't have a house, was forced to live kwa nyumba ya mtoto wake. The mtoto, the son, is this one here, also got involved in an accident, and so he was also in clutches, so could not help the shosh. However, through our presence, because of our presence here and the project we've been doing, the county government got wind of this project, and the governor himself, His Excellency Fernandez Baraza, has come in to support by making sure that after we are done with this, the foundation, as we're going to pick one person, beneficiary from that family, who is going to be employed by the county, and through that is going to get support to support Shosh. Apart from that, Shosh is also going to be involved. Is also going to be put in a program of supporting the vulnerable that is led by the First Lady of the county. And all that, we are saying thank you, that by just coming here and doing our bit, the county government have heard of it, and we've gotten a very good support on them, just to make sure kwamba hata tukishamaliza wao wataweza wakipata hiyo kazi itaweza kusaidia sana, and we've picked one person who is going to benefit to get that job. And I want to say thank you to the team, Governor Fernandez Baraza, and the team that are around all that now. And so that's why we are finishing up today. Ladies and gentlemen, this report is worrying. and it is raising many questions. Questions are emerging. 2 weeks after the president mentioned that the housing levy will now go into building markets, the country watched, but some questions emerged as what exactly is the objective of that. But today, if you watch this story by the citizen, you'll understand it is not just the markets. It is more than markets and fire stations, schools, and ECE centers.
Now, the proposed affordable housing regulations have sparked outrage among Kenyan workers who accuse the government of dishonesty and sneaking in self-serving amendments to the housing levy. The Central Organization of Trade Unions, KOTU, warns that these recently adopted regulations could divert billions of shillings away from housing projects towards unrelated initiatives. As Mary Moki reports, this controversy unfolds on the same day the president announced that 20% of all affordable housing projects will be reserved exclusively for members of the disciplined forces.
And we are not only using that housing levy kujenga hiyo affordable housing. We are using it to build the markets. We have now 260 markets going on in Kenya.
Those remarks by President William Ruto last week were the first indication that funds from the housing levy might be used for purposes other than affordable housing projects. President Ruto has drawn the ire of many Kenyans who are now accusing the government of contravening the Affordable Housing Act of 2024. The act clearly states that the Affordable Housing Fund should be used to finance, among other things, the design, development and maintenance of affordable housing and its associated social and physical infrastructure. Under the amended affordable housing regulations, housing levy funds may now be utilized to construct health facilities, pre-primary education centers, basic education centers, fire stations, police posts, social halls, markets and open spaces. Stakeholders argue all these fall outside the scope of what Kenyan workers were promised when this levy was introduced, but the president maintains the project is all about providing jobs.
Housing plan is not so much about the houses. No. This affordable housing plan is more about the jobs for young people than the houses.
The Central Organization of Trade Unions, KOTU, has strongly condemned the regulations already passed by the National Assembly but awaiting ratification by the Attorney General, arguing that they will introduce a loophole that could see housing levy funds channeled into projects outside its core mandate. This comes even as President William Ruto on Tuesday announced that a quarter of all affordable housing projects countrywide will be reserved for the disciplined forces, a move that will bring into question the apparent preferential treatment for a certain class of workers to the disadvantage of other cadres of workers who equally contribute to the fund.
20% of whole housing units being developed under affordable housing across the country will be ring-fenced for members of our disciplined forces from the military, the National Police Service, the Kenya prisons, and the National Youth Service.
KOTU maintains that no meaningful public participation involving Kenyan workers, including KOTU itself, was conducted before Parliament adopted the regulations. The union has called on President Ruto to intervene urgently and safeguard the purpose and integrity of the housing levy. Mary Moki, Citizen TV.
It is worth to note that those functions that have been listed, social halls, fire stations, ECDE centers, and even markets, all those are county functions. So I don't know how those are devolved functions. It is the county government that actually gives land for the market. It is the county government builds stores, the fire stations under county and all that. So are they going to reroute county, their housing levy money to go to counties to do the work, or it's going to be implemented at the national government level? I'm going to follow this amendment to the latter, and even today as it is going to be presented in Parliament, that proposal is going to be presented in Parliament, we will follow up and make sure you stick here, because I'm so curious on how they want to do it. The how part has not come out. I've not captured the how part, but of course, with time we'll get to understand how they want to do it. Now, however, the Economic Council led by David Ndii, Moses, Kuria, and the team is reported to be falling out with the Treasury Axis led by a CPA Mbadi, who allegedly are the ones that hatched the project, the proposal. Now, this is the interesting bit about it. There is this proposal that is currently being crafted by the Attorney General from the Attorney General's office, Dr. Odour, did not get approval from the cabinet. It did not pass through the cabinet. And you remember I used to say that one of the problems we normally have in this country is people quickly maneuver their ways on converting their opinions and proposals to law without following the due process. I want to believe that because of the level of public interest in this bill should be subjected to some public participation. I am thinking the rush to pass it without going through the process of the public participation is going to put it into a protracted litigation process. It's going to be litigated in the court of law for long, and they might not get, remember even the housing levy in its original, the act in its original stature was exposed to a protracted court battle until government bulldozed its way. I remember when the head of state said Mambo di Matatu, and they even warned that there are some judges that were against the housing levy and they were against government proposals. So this is one that we are very curious about. Why didn't it go through the cabinet? And even some cabinet members are reporting to media about not being captured in it. Now, but curiously, intensive lobbying is currently being undertaken in the National Assembly by the National Assembly leadership, who have all been captured by the executive to ensure that the bill receives overwhelming backing in the House. This is another attempt by Parliament, and my guess is as good as yours. Your MP is not going to oppose this bill because, number one, most MPs are against those government functions, are against county governments. And if these jobs will be done and if this money will be rerouted into some projects, they would want to take credit. They will actually go to cut deal with the executive so that some tenders, this and that, are given to them. They'll be against this money going to devolve functions. But the whole problem might not even be about its usage and how they're going to do it. Remember, the levy was not a tax. It is someone is donating his money. So, and it is not a universal one. I remember when we were analyzing it, we said that the levy brought an economic injustice because it is only a few who are paying it. So, Kotu boss Francis Atwoli penned a veiled letter to Parliament opposing this move, saying it actually opens a loophole as what happened in NSSF. And I'm going to use the scandal at NSSF just to show you why really the country is getting worried about this. Let's look at Kotu Francis Atwoli's concern. And remember, he was not involved. That is why I'm telling you, so many stakeholders were not involved in that proposal to tweak the affordable housing bill so that it goes now to build other things. As Kotu, we have noted with great concern that the National Assembly has adopted a set of affordable housing regulations, which fortunately are yet to be ratified by the Attorney General. If adopted, actually the bill is coming from the National Assembly. If adopted, these regulations, which are in possession of Kotu, will introduce a loophole that could see members of Parliament channel housing levy funds into projects that fall outside the core mandate of providing decent and affordable housing for the Kenyan workers. Under the affordable housing regulations, housing levy funds may now erroneously be used to construct health facilities, pre-primary educational centers, basic education centers, fire stations, police posts, social halls, markets, and open spaces under the guise of associated social infrastructure, while these are all important basic services, they fall well outside the scope of what Kenyan workers promised when this levy was introduced. Let's go back to this levy. The regulation did not introduce, and the government was supposed to make sure that they provide these infrastructures around the houses. That is why when they were launching Mukuru and the other areas, they were actually talking about these other infrastructures. But let me tell you, it is not that the schools are going to be built around those compounds, social halls and all that. That is not going to be built around the affordable housing units. This is a proposal to make sure it goes out. Remember, those are functions of the counties I mentioned. So it beats the logic of the house being affordable, because these were incentives that were supposed to be provided by the national government. But it seems the national government is running away from that move. Now, to make you see the danger in this, I want you to watch the NSSF scandal. Remember, the NSSF scandal is a pension scheme for workers. So the pension scheme for workers, the moment it also opened window for that money to be put into some investment, I want you to look at the ghosts. You know, for quite some time, NSSF has not been publishing their financial records, and of course this has raised questions about why. So when they were pressed by the Ombudsman, the National Administration of Justice, from the judiciary, when they were pressed to give those statements, what came out is a huge scandal.
The National Social Security Fund has been on the receiving end over its continued delays in making public its financial report, despite continuously receiving funds from Kenyan workers. A situation that took the intervention of the Commission on Administrative Justice, or the Office of the Ombudsman, for the NSSF to publish their financial performance for the period ending June 30th, 2024. Jimmy Mbogo now takes us through the findings of the Auditor General's reports, which indicate significant financial impropriety at the cost of those who hoped for a secure retirement.
The latest financial report by the National Social Security Fund for the financial year ending June 2024 has exposed significant financial misappropriation at the institution. According to excerpts from the Office of the Auditor General on the NSSF financial health, the institution failed to show progress in the refund of taxes totaling to 904,336,114 shillings, which were inadvertently paid to the Kenya Revenue Authority and were to be refunded after the fund became tax exempt. This costing retirees interest had the funds been invested. Further, the report shows that NSSF acquired a piece of land in Nairobi's Upper Hill area at a cost of 115 million shillings, but the parcel of land's title deed was revoked in April 2010 on grounds that the parcel was reserved for public use. In what appeared to be a run-of-bad investment decision, the Auditor General found that NSSF had invested in two companies between 2023 and 2024. The companies' values tanked by 17.64%, costing members a total of 27,218,265 from a valuation of 157,294,756 in 2023 to 127,076,491 shillings by 2024. The Auditor General noting that the value for money from the two companies could not be confirmed. A situation that is also replicated in the NSSF shareholding in the investment in a loss-making bank, where the institution holds shares valued at 38,428,500 shillings and worsened by the investment in government securities, where the fund spent 12 billion shillings to purchase bonds 500,711,695 shillings premium without satisfactory explanation. The audit shows that bonds were bought at a premium cost and sold at a loss, with the years under review booking a capital loss of 272,045,067. The audit report shows that the fund is sitting on 5 idle properties within Nairobi CBD valued at 4.02 billion shillings. But despite the demonstrably questionable investment acumen, outright investment that ought to rake in funds for NSSF also struggled to do so in the period under review, with a report showing that in the period under review, documents provided to the Auditor General shows that 8 tenants owed the fund.
And you may want to listen to that article, that story by Citizen. It's an interesting one here. So that's what I was saying. and it's really true. It's actually true that that opens a conduit, and it's a conversation we've ever had. I think from my observation, and I may not be too analytical about this, but it's idealistically, there's no English like idealistically. It is ideally, what should actually be done is to ensure that you take the opinion of the workers. And let me say, I have been mentioning, and I think members of this channel, they understand that my position as Bold, who has been, the Bold podcast has been that there is a big problem between the principal contributor not being the principal beneficiary. That is the problem. Oh, my Kenyan workers, that is the problem. That has been a big problem on this, and of course you can challenge my thought. But then, why do you think this proposal is being mooted? Do you think it's just out of from hot air? No. This proposal is being mooted with an objective. And let's look at this for objectives. The first one, it is a deliberate effort to create a conduit of a bottomless hole to misuse the fund. And this is what I mean. Who is going to do the tenders for police posts? Who is going to construct? And look at what happened at NSSF. Someone went and bought land, and actually he bought public land. So after buying public land, the land was taken by the owner. The land was taken by the government, and the money was never refunded. Look at that. Look at that. So this is an issue, and of course we are now expanding the scope of that money, because by expanding the scope of that money, it might not be accounted with the issue of house. But also pay attention to, and this brings me to the second aspect. Remember, the use of this money was about a housing. So I want to just argue from human point of view. I gave you money to go and build houses. 2 years down the line, you are saying, I'm now not just going to build houses, I'm now going to build hospitals and markets and all that. What does it mean? This is what I'm saying. Slowly, the government is opting out of affordable housing units, of the affordable housing project. They're opting out, and they're trying to find means of putting this money into use. Why are they opting out? Contrary, and I tell you this from an informed point of view, contrary to glamorous media stories about Kenyans rushing for their affordable housing units, let me shock you. Those houses are just gathering dust. That is it. The houses are gathering dust. And if you challenge, tell me, and I'm telling you from informed point of view, go and check any mainstream media that went and affordable housing units, the gates were opened so that they can see whether people are occupying. Those structures are closed. And what's happening, the state might have realized that the uptake of the houses is low. Watu hawachukui hizo manyumba. And that is why even the affordable housing levy, a proposal is being mooted, and the president made this statement during Madaraka Day, that they want to offer a loan facility to the contributors, and your contribution can be used, how you contribute can be used to know how much you can get, because, and they're supposed to get loans of up to 4 million to build affordable housing units in their rural homes. These are things we said. According to me, my home is hiyo nyumba. You know, you cannot give me a bed sitter in a flat and you tell me that is a real home. Come on. Come on. Now that is the problem. And the president had a very big idea. And I've been saying it was a big idea. But the definition of a home is where we draw the line. My home ni ile nyumba nimejenga nyumbani, ni ka fence where naweza fuga kuku zangu, naweza fanya vitu zangu. That is the ideal home. The bed sitter in 10th floor the bed sitter in 10th home, you cannot call that a home. Sometimes itakuwa ngumu. But that is it. Now, so let's look at this. The president is overtaking the roles of the county, and these fears are genuine because he doesn't trust on devolution. And keenly, I can tell you the executive is looking for how they can go to campaign. I'm telling you, see, unasema they want to build markets, ECD centers. It is the president who will be launching fire stations, police stations, ECD centers, schools, and halls. And because through that, he's going to campaign. So this proposal is far much about campaign platform. Lastly, we understand the president is having budget policy issue, not budget, our fiscal deficit. I don't know, or the budget guys will tell you that I'm using the right word, but our fiscal deficit is very tight. The international market, our borrowing is an issue. And if you listen to the proceedings of the Budget and Appropriation Committee, Ndindi Nyoro is very firm on the need for Kenya not to go the debt way. So ladies and gentlemen, that's a big debate we've had. I want to take the next 1 hour after I publish this video to sample your feedback and your response on it because, yeah, I want us to have this. Thank you.